The last man on Earth heard a knock at the door. This was nothing new. Every hour of every day brought a new knock and a new plea for help from the revenants, the undead. They had returned, and like the relentless creatures portrayed in decades of movies, they were ravenous for living flesh. Their cries, wails, and screams echoed incessantly, creating a horrifying backdrop for the last survivor. This had been the reality for weeks now. What was new, however, was the door they were now pounding on. No longer did the sounds come from the outside of his home. Now, they reverberated from his bathroom door. The problem? He was inside. He'd never contemplated the possibility of something like this happening, but even so, he had managed to keep a few supplies in the small 4x8 room. I can hear them, he thought, budding against the walls and doors trying to get at me. Oh God, why didn't I die with the rest? After hours of enduring the ungodly sounds of the revenants shuffling about and ransacking his home, he began to hear a different sound. He inched closer to the door to listen and heard a sound like a low whisper. He moved even closer, putting his ear to the door and listened closely to hear words. The undead were speaking. He strained to listen but was startled away as the pounding began again. Staggering back, he tripped into the bathtub, hitting his head. The pounding stopped, and he began to wonder if it had all been a hallucination when suddenly,
"Come out to us,"
they whispered quietly, almost inaudibly, just loud enough to register.
"Come out, we want you, come here, come to us, come out."
The man's skin crawled at the sound of their unnatural, whispery voices. They sounded broken, as though each word were being hacked to pieces, and then forced back together. He could smell them too. The disgusting, decaying bodies emitting a sweet and sickening stench of rot that seeped into the room. Now our survivor huddled in his bathtub, startled by the change in his circumstances, curled up and trembling until eventually succumbing to sleep. He awakens the next day, initially groggy, until the memories of the previous night flood back. Terror grips him again. But as he begins to rise, he contemplates the possibility of escape. Could he make it out if he moved quickly enough? How many of them could there be? However, these hopeful thoughts are swiftly dismissed as the whispers start anew. The creatures on the other side of the door, having sensed their prey stirring, resume their psychological assault from the night before. He hears them and begins to weep inwardly, understanding that they can wait him out. For the wretches, it's a matter of patience and time before their victim either perishes or willingly rushes out into their arms. For him, it's a matter of life, death, and sanity. His eyes dart to the bathroom window, but he quickly discards the notion. Escaping that way is not feasible. The fall from the second floor would require a headfirst approach, not a smart way to exit a window, even if it was safe. What guarantee does he have that more of the undead wouldn't be waiting for him below? The day passes agonizingly slow, thoroughly miserable. He contemplates escape by any possible means, discarding each idea in turn. At this point, he's numb to the nauseating smell beyond the door. By late afternoon, the survivor experiences immense hunger, but the sheer horror of what lies beyond the door keeps him in check, holding him in place. He refuses to venture out on this day. He goes to the faucet, drinks deeply, and then sits down, back to the wall, facing the door, weeping until sleep claims him. As he awakens the next day, our survivor doesn't experience the same mental fog as the day before. He rises with fear and anxiety deeply entrenched in his heart. I want out, he thinks. I want out now. Determination sets in as he lifts his head, sets his jaw, and rises from his supine position. Grabbing his plunger, he takes 2 short steps to the door. Placing his hand on the knob, he hesitates. Shuffling sounds on the other side begin as he swings the door open, revealing a horrendously disfigured face. Glassy eyes yellowed, skin stretched tight and torn across its skeleton. With deep pits and gashes, the revenant and our survivor each pause, momentarily stunned by the sight of one another. Then, stirring to life, the creature lurches forth, reaching for the man's shoulder. As its hand closes around his collar, its icy grip worsened by the oozing sores in its palm, our survivor is galvanized into action by the return of his terror. He raises his knee into the creature's groin, slowing it and causing its grip to loosen, then shoves it away and into the hall. Stepping back, he quickly slams the door shut once again, locks it, and collapses. Days go by, quickly becoming a nightmare that spans the course of 2 weeks. 2 weeks of relentless torment. Bursts of courage fade and die, drowned in the sea of fear. Spurts of resolve fizzle into nothingness. There is simply nothing left in the man. His drive to survive is emptied. Every day, the whispering persists, each day more enticing, breaking the man's resolve down further and further. At 3 weeks, he is completely starving, having resorted to eating bars of soap under his sink in a desperate attempt at gaining sustenance. It is, however, to no avail. The hunger is maddening. Ever since that first attempt to rush through the door, the whispers have never stopped. In every waking hour they call to him, tormenting him. At last, he can no longer take it. Rising, giddy and starving, he takes those brief steps to the door, and to the knob he laughs. A low, hollow, defeated laugh as he opens the door, steps into the hall, into the arms of death, and embraces his fate.